today.
We're hot here too, right?
Coming up on the Wade and Carter Show today, Bond, more Bond. Astros are in control. All that and more. Mike Mercer's in studio. Caleb Shaw, guest host. It's the Wade and Carter Show.
87.65 and foggy. And here we are, another morning. Glad to be back, my friend. Even if it's just me on the headsets and you leave me here all by myself.
I just wanted to see how
that's all right. I can talk. If I can do anything, I can talk.
That was a test of radio. So see how you did without me here for a second. It's it's like throwing the kid in the deep end and seeing if they can swim.
That's about the only thing I can do is talk, man. At least that's what everybody keeps telling me recently.
You're pretty good at selling houses, from what I understand.
Well, thank you. I try. I do my best. Yes, sir.
Well, let's see who's all. Well, first of all, we got to do this. Let's do this. Wade and Carter weather brought to you by the fine folks at Deerland Feed. If you need anything, they've got your seed oats, they've got your ryegrass to overseed so your cows and animals have something all winter. They've got fertilizers to help everything grow. It's the place I go. Get over to Deerland Feed today. 65 degrees right now, going to a high of about 88. Foggy, please drive carefully. There's always one. It doesn't matter. Every morning when it's foggy, there's always one moron driving down, actually out of town.
I thought you were going to be calling when you called this morning. I thought you were going to be calling. And so, other side. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. I got you, buddy. There you go. All right. There you go.
Navarro and Red River.
Hanging out.
Yeah. So, so drive carefully. I think it was Monday morning. I counted between West High School and Red River, where I make the turn to head towards the studio. 4 of them.
Good Lord.
I think it's a mile and a half, maybe 2 miles in that, somewhere in that. I mean, it's not a long stretch, and there were 4 of them on the side of the road.
A lot of deer. Yeah. You're not paying attention.
No. So nothing runs like a deer except a deer, apparently. It's the first time in Boston Red Sox history at Fenway that they have given up 9 or more runs in 2 consecutive games and scored fewer than 5 runs or something like that. I mean, who comes up with these things? I mean, Fenway's been open since 1912, but still, somebody had to dig through that to find it.
They got statistics on the statistics now.
They do. They got statistics to help frame any narrative that they need in Major League Baseball. So
that is a weird one.
It is.
1-9 loss. Nobody's done that. Who keeps count of that?
Somebody, apparently, because they were able to figure it out before the game went away, and they flashed that up there. So Christina Wise in, Robin Work-Knipling. Good morning, Marvin Mickish, Mike Bloschke, Diane Tippett, Tom Price, Patrick Strauss. Working HR Mallory's in, Jordan Glass, Amanda Smith King, Chris Conrad, good morning. Kendra Douglas, Jeremy Pena, Jennifer Marr. I'm not able to pop it up here on the laptop this morning.
That was still pretty impressive, though, that you were able to do that across the desk.
Wayne Dearland.
You've got some talent, my friend.
Glasses are working pretty well.
Yeah, you're doing well. That's little righty.
Catherine Imes, Scott Snow, J. Mark Jameson, producer extraordinaire, Ricky King, good morning. So glad to see everybody joining us this morning. And let's see. Well, there it is. That's some connectivity issues. And I know yesterday we popped in and out a little bit.
Yeah, I was noticing that.
Hopefully it stays good today. Judge Posey, good morning. Brian Hans is in. There we go. And there, now that it's working, I get everything going, including
that kind of freaked me out. I was like, who is that? Some third voice just came in.
Lisa Poole, see if I missed anybody at the bottom of the list. I think everybody's in. Brian Morris, Matt Boucher, Patrick Strauss. Good morning, everybody. Glad you're here.
Morning.
Glad you're joining us. And Mike Mercer in studio this morning. I rearranged the the camera, so I'll flip the camera around and get Mike.
Okay.
You're okay? You don't want to be on camera?
Much better
Okay.
seat with Brent not here. That's
Take it while you can get it.
Well, I appreciate that. So I wanted to give you that opportunity, but and appreciate you taking the opportunity to come on back, because it seems like there were a lot of things left unspoken yesterday, or not unspoken, left unfinished with the direction of the conversation, and a couple things. So appreciate everybody who's joined back in. And last night I did a lot of research and kind of looked to see what were some of the issues that we didn't get to yesterday that this community still has troubles with. And it's interesting because some of these are definite. One of these is definite. I'm not voting for this because of this. The other one is a concern for people on both sides, and maybe even those in the middle.
okay.
So, and I know you weren't on the board at the time, but that 11-cent tax grab in the wake of Harvey is still a sticking point, and something that has a lot of people still
Absolutely
ticked off.
I get absolutely. I was a taxpayer then too.
Yeah.
So I know the jump. And I guess the way to frame this is, and that's kind of the discussion you had yesterday, is that it's allowable.
Mm-hmm.
Is it always the best thing to do? Is it always the worst thing to do? The reason behind that, because I got to speak to people that were on the board at that point in time. Because I think, again, we didn't do a good enough job expressing what that specifically was for. At that point in time, after Harvey, after initial repairs had been made, not being made whole by FEMA or the insurance company by PCAT at that point in time, we depleted our fund balance, which in order to get a top financial rating, you have to have 60 to 90 days of operating cash in that fund balance. Not a number that we set, it's a number that the state sets. We get to choose between 60 and 90, but that's about as much leeway as we have in that deal. That 11 cents was to refund or to replenish that fund balance. So you didn't see that 11 cents go straight into the repairs or anything like that, because a lot of that had already been drawn out. A lot of people, I get it. Sometimes I don't understand why we have to have it. And then I have the financial experts explain it to me and says, listen, the reason you have fund balance is so that you could open back up within a couple of days after the hurricane, because if you didn't have it, you might be, look at what happened to Rockport with a total loss. I mean, those kids were out of school for months. So that's one of the reasonings for it. Is it palpable? No. Do people have a right to be angry? Absolutely. Do I think that the board did something wrong? Technically, no. I mean, it was there, and I understand just because it's there, you don't take it. But in that situation, they were facing if we don't do this, this is the only chance the state gives us to try to replenish some of that stuff. I wish the state would say, hey, we're going to give you 4 years to recoup this. But unfortunately, the law was it's either all now or nothing. I think the max that you could take that year was 13 cents.
Yeah, and they shaved it back by 2 cents. But if my memory serves me, between the announcement
and it's really about as much as I can say about that is we are in talks with the insurance company legally about their responsibility for that. So as far as being made whole completely, no, we haven't gotten to that point yet.
What percentage have we gotten back, roughly?
Man, I would love to say a number. I can't.
You think could you go broad, like over 50? Or
no.
But you know what? You just did a better job explaining that than anybody involved in 2017 did. And it would have taken that explanation, I think, to ease a lot of people's pain and discomfort with it. And I don't know why that couldn't have been done 4 years ago.
I guess I was in a unique position. So I feel like maybe that information was there. But again, like I said yesterday, maybe we didn't do a good enough job pushing it out to that. And I do want to get you that number.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I don't want to quote something.
No, fair enough. I'm okay with that.
Wrong.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that. But I think this issue goes back to our original point of the trust thing.
Right.
Because as we discussed earlier, for the bond, the 2017 bond, there's about roughly 40% support for it. Mm-hmm. When it got to that tax hike, I would argue there was almost zero support for that in the community. I mean, and when we had that meeting or VISD had that meeting, it was packed. Right. And there was not a single person that I saw, not one, that was for this. Not a single person. Yet there was a lot of community people there, a lot of business people there that were willing to offer alternatives. With people I had never seen around the schools or that hate this stuff, were there willing to help. But what everybody felt like was the decision was made before they ever walked into that room that they were taking that money. And they were going through the formality of having to have that meeting. But I don't see how you look at a room with 99% not wanting that and you say, this is what we're doing. And you walk out and to take it a step further, it wasn't just that room that it was against it. It was the community that was against it. And it starts getting into that habit of we feel like they govern against us. And it's one piece of a bigger puzzle. I mean, here we are on the third time we're now voting for this. And again, I understand those needs don't go away. So you keep putting, there's two sides to all of it. But this is part of the distrust problem is the ISD, we don't feel like you listen to us when we speak. And again, I'm not saying I think your intentions are good. I don't think everybody's sitting over there with their finger in their mouth. How can we take it from the public? Yeah, I mean, I sincerely don't think that. I really just think it's a difference of opinions, and some people are looser with tax dollars than others. And I don't think that's a bad thing. It's just a difference of opinions. But my issue is the trust thing. And it's several of them, and that was a big one to me. And that one was one of those where it just felt like it didn't matter what we said. They were going to make that decision, and they did. And we have Michael Cloud here. We have people here that can advocate for us, and he was advocating for us. And the fact that they just went and took that again, I mean, that's hard to overcome because people felt like, and that was a terrible time to do it. It was a terrible time.
H.R. Mallory has a question that many had, and let me read it here. When the question was asked, what if we get made whole before the tax goes into effect? What will happen? And the answer was, we'll spend it the best way.
Yeah, because I asked that question too.
Right, so,
right.
So if that's the reason for taking the tax, but if we are made whole, why still take it?
Why? Okay. I'm going to try to kind of.
And I'm not trying to play gotcha, but these are the concerns.
No. I told you I would much rather hear the other side of it than what
right. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
What's out there. Okay, so again, I go back to it's a point in time to where at that point in time, if you're not made whole, and the only time the state gives you to make yourself whole is at one point in time. Optics on it were horrible. If you've got a room full of people saying, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. I've been to public hearings. I mean, we've had several public hearings on the budget. We've got another one coming up on the 28th, next Thursday at our meeting that has to deal with our financial report to the state. But if you've got a whole room, and I think you have to listen to that room. The caveat I'll say, and because I'm going to tell you this through the whole COVID thing, my email box was full. And I will tell you that there was just as much on one side as there was the other on it. So yes, there are voices that we live, that we have to listen to everybody, and there are voices, but there are voices always on both sides of that. As far as it being a decision that was made before they walked in the room, man, some people are able to treat this service as a full-time job. God bless them. Unfortunately, I have to kind of balance that with the rest of my life. But there is so much reading we do before a board meeting. There's so much. We have an opportunity to ask administration questions ahead of time, like what does this mean? How does this affect things? Again, maybe we don't do a good job in the meeting bringing that discussion out. We're really trying to do that more. We're really, I mean, we've got, I guess, some newer board members on now that it's still fresh to, so it's good to have those questions out there. And that's not taken away from any of the existing board members. It's just when you've done something for a long period of time, you don't need it explained to you over and over again, like those of us that are newer do. So there's so much that goes into it. So when we talk about a decision that was made before you ever came into that room, I can't say, again, I can't say that was the case, but I do understand that there are several times that you walk into that room and you know the realities of the situation. You know